So they said that they would serve the papers for me. What are you guys waiting for? And now they're just standing there and not taking it? Thought you said you're going to take them up. And they said they just leave it sitting there. What are you waiting for? What are you guys waiting for? What are you waiting for? You said you would take it up. You said you're not obstructing justice. You said you would serve the papers. What are you waiting for? Take the papers. You said you would do it. You said you're not obstructing justice. Hey, Peterborough Public Health, you're being served. Larry Stinson, you're being served. Medical Officer of Health, the man or woman who acts as Medical Officer of Health, you're being served. Larry Stinson! Larry Stinson, you are being served. Notice of trespass and liability. Cease and desist. The man or woman acting as Medical Officer of Health, you are being served. Notice of liability. Notice of trespass. Cease and desist. Why doesn't someone from Peterborough Public Health come down? Larry Stinson, or the man acting as Medical Officer of Health. Come down and accept your papers. You're being served a notice of trespass, a notice of liability. Cease and desist. You're involved in fraud and crimes against humanity. Larry Stinson, and the man acting as Medical Officer of Health for Peterborough Public Health. You're involved in fraud and crimes against humanity. You already answered Freedom of Information requests. You have no proof of the COVID-19 virus or any variant. You're liars and you're frauds. Yeah, why don't you people come down? What's wrong with you men? How come we have no men in this country? You're robots. You're standing there with your face diapers. You won't even pick up the paper. You said you would take that paper and serve it. You said you would do it. You said right in front of the police officers, you said you would do it. And now you stand there. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you people? Are you liars now too? This guy gives me the thumbs up. Oh yeah, I'll take it up. And then you just leave it sitting there? You guys are not men. You have no honor. You're not working in the public interest. You're protecting criminals. Why are you protecting criminals? You said you would serve the paper. You lied? Larry Stinson, I accuse you of crimes against humanity. You're participating in worldwide fraud. You're lying to the public. Peterborough Public Health. You're being served. Are you too much of a coward to come downstairs and take the paper? Larry Stinson, I accuse you of crimes against humanity and fraud and terrorizing the public and violations of the Nuremberg Code. Excuse me, do you work for Peterborough Public Health?
No, I don't. You have nothing else to do?
I'm trying to serve papers, but there are people preventing me from doing so. You have a problem with that? Excuse me? To Peterborough Public Health, to Larry Stinson and the Medical Officer of Health. For participation in fraud and crimes against humanity?
I don't think that are considered crimes against humanity.
Oh, and what do you know about it?
You know what? I know that lots of people have died.
Oh, really? I guess what? I know people who died too. But guess what? People dying is not proof of a virus or a pandemic. You think it's funny? Do you have proof that there's a virus?
I don't think it's funny at all.
Okay, well,
For anybody, for businesses, for other people,
I don't think it's funny either. I did my homework for the last year and a half. I have Freedom of Information responses from over 25 countries. I have 156 Freedom of Information responses. 44 of them are for Canadian institutions. No one has any proof of the alleged virus. People get sick and die every year. People getting sick and dying is not proof that the cause is a virus. And none of the tests that they use have ever been validated for detecting any virus.
according to
According to fact.
according to
According to 156 institutions around the world, nobody on the planet has a sample of the alleged virus. And you cannot validate a test for a virus when no virus has been shown to exist. And nobody has a gold standard. Excuse me? Well, it's not hard because you know what people do? Everybody follows orders and they trust what's being said on the TV and what the so-called authorities are telling them. Nobody looks at the actual science that came out of China or the papers where they claim to have isolated the virus, which you already know. 5 Canadian institutions claim to have isolated the virus. I have freedom of information responses from all of those institutions. None of them have any record of anyone on the planet having isolated the virus. Neither does the Public Health Agency of Canada or Health Canada or Peterborough Public Health or anybody else. I've got court documents and freedom of information responses from almost 30 countries now, including the CDC. Nobody has a sample of the alleged virus. It's not hard to believe, and it's on my website, and it's being used in court cases around the world. My website, fluoridefreepeel.ca, and you can find the responses from the homepage. Fluoride, F-L-U-O, not O-U-U-O, fluoridefreepeel, P-E-E-L.ca. You can find on my menu, my main menu, it says COVID-19 FOI responses. You click there, it'll take you. They're being used all around the world. Nobody has a sample. Not only do they not have a sample of the alleged virus, nor do they have any record of themselves having purified the alleged virus. They don't have any record of anyone on the planet having purified the alleged virus. And you can't do science on something when all you have is a patient sample or some fluid from a cell culture where they put the patient sample literally with monkey kidney cells and fetal bovine serum and toxic drugs. And when the monkey cells that they starve and poison get harmed, they call that virus isolation. They starve and poison monkey kidney cells, and then when they see cytopathic effects, they interpret that as virus isolation.
People that are dying.
People get sick as they did.
What's the rationale for the thousands of people dying, which is not normal in these numbers?
Oh no, thousands of people die every year. There's nothing new about that. And there's nothing new about people dying with respiratory diseases. But then the new things that we did have since COVID-19 is people being terrorized, right? People here.
Before it became a political issue.
Yeah, people have always died. But what people need to learn is these tests are literally 100% meaningless. None of them test for a virus. They're all indirect tests. And they just declare, oh, this means that you're positive. I have a master's degree. And you don't need to know. This is like biostatistics from the Dalai Lama School of Public Health at the University of Toronto. And I'm a published co-author on numerous cancer studies because I used to work with cancer researchers. But anybody can understand this. People all around the world already know about the PCR tests. They use a technology called PCR. It was invented, it has nothing to do with testing. The inventor won the Nobel Prize for it. His name was Kary Mullis. Years later, when they started using it as a diagnostic test for HIV, he was distraught. He was beside himself. There's all kinds of videos of him talking about it. It's not a test. If you have a genetic sequence in a sample and you want to make copies of it, it's a technology for making copies of sequences. So what they just started doing was saying, okay, we know the genome of the alleged virus, but they don't because nobody has ever identified any virus. They literally make up the genomes on computers. They're 100% meaningless. And then they identify a tiny, tiny, tiny little section of the genome, and they say, oh, that's a marker for the virus. If we can find that sequence in the sample, we're going to call it positive for the virus. This technology could, even if there was a proven virus, which there isn't, but even if there was, this technology is 100% incapable of diagnosing a disease or any amount of virus. Even if there was a virus, what you have to do, they add an enzyme to a patient sample. It breaks down cell walls And if there was a virus, it would break down the protein shell and it lets out the genetic material. So they take all the genetic material, that whole soup, and they apply primers. Yeah. It's not even testing for a virus or a genome. Why did you lie? You said you would take it up for me. So now you're a liar too.
You taking a selfie?
No, these goofs won't. I want to serve papers to Peterborough Public Health and they won't let me in the building. And they said they would take it up. They called the cops on me. They said they would take it up for me, and now they won't even do it. It's been sitting there. I've been filming for 16 minutes and they're just leaving it sitting there.
I'm just going home to get more. I've worked all day, so. Okay, I'm all with you.
Have a good one. What a joke. 20 minutes I gave you. You guys lied. You're liars. You guys lied. You should be ashamed of yourselves.